zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me.
Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, waking up for a little bit of an earlier Tuesday morning over here from a very rainy Helsinki, Finland. A lot to update today as we hit our upside targets once again. And I want to take this time to actually remind myself, to remind everyone here that, you know, while the last month and a half have been pretty damn on target with all these things, understand that, you know, when it comes down to technical analysis, when it comes down to trading, this is all just a statistical narrative. So while there has been a really good hit percentage of all these moves happening, I want to remind myself to say that, hey, at the end of the day, I am going to be wrong. I am going to be wrong. So, you know, I reading some of the comments have made me a little bit off kilter just because I want to remind people of that fact. And if you've been here long enough, you've already seen me been wrong plenty of times. So with that said, I also want to say that Twitch going to be going later today. Had a little bit of technical difficulty yesterday. I also can't speak, so that's an issue as well if you're going to be doing a fucking live stream. But my point with that is that I will be back on later tonight. Playing some Call of Duty, playing some maybe some ESO, and doing some Bitcoin analysis. Hopefully some trading in the meantime as well, just because Bitcoin is moving here, and when it's floating around like this is my favorite time to be a scalper. So that should be going on sometime around 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time, a.m. Start time. Anyways, link is in the description below, of course. And one more thing, the Krown trading application is live. It's been live for about a week now. However, it's very, very basic right now. We've been adding more pages with each and every passing week, and so we'll continue to add more, and it's 100% free. So check it out at app.crowntrading.net. And what else do I want to say? I think that's about it. So yeah, as always, wishing you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest, and a nice little profitable start to your week. With that said, let's get a live stream running over here as I press that button and initiate that good old teleportation, and boom, baby, there we are, Bitcoin on the daily. And well, let's actually kind of roll over and cover up the last kind of like 24 hours of price action since we last spoke. And the big thing here is that we did see that critical takeout of last week's high. And as soon as that happened, which was around, I believe it was about 8,800, yeah, a little bit below 8,800, that's what initiated our next measure, or sorry, not measure move, just our next targeted region towards the last prior high, right around about 9,100-ish region, or sorry, about 91,950 is what we got up to thus far. And to me, this looks like continuation right here. And I want to once again stress the importance of the CME chart. While spot chart right here, you know, it looks a little bit, you know, you can certainly make a what's called an argument for both sides here. Just looking at the last couple of weekly dildos, the CME charts is very obviously continuation, as we do have new highs, not just taking out last week's high right here, but taking out the prior one on top of that, which to me is a big deal. And more importantly, CME's showing the way as they have been. I think there's a lot less fake outs on a chart like this. And looking at this right here, it does look like we probably do get another run up towards that last prior high on the weekly. A little bit more longer, or I shouldn't say longer term, but medium term perhaps is a better terminology. I don't think that we're just going to like snap the fingers like good old Nicholas Martin's over there and head on to 9,500 this second. No, but I do think that Bitcoin likely does make that next trudge to the upside. However, the next big sort of piece of price action that I'd be waiting for in order to perhaps consider a position in that direction. Although right now I'm actually quite content with just scalping and having like a you know, just adding to the hodl bag, I suppose, if you want to call it that, is closing the daily dollar above the white 200 simple right here. That would be the next sort of, well, I was going to say change of behavior, but realistically, it's not a change of behavior. Bitcoin's been bullish on the daily, on the medium time frames, as we've been speaking about for the last, I mean, realistically, we got bullish right around here, right above 7,500 after calling the reversal right here, but getting that next piece of continuation really did set in that daily trend to the upside. And once again, we've confirmed yet again another higher low right here alongside the yellow 20 minus 2-minute average. So to me, if we do get this next closure above the white 200 simple, which is about 8,900, so looking rather likely right now, but it's a long trading day to go. I would say, let me just make sure that I'm actually recording. I am recording, and the microphone seems to be working. So good. Sorry, man. It's been a while since I've actually been away from the good old battle station right here. But if we can get that next sort of move, yes, I do think that sets it up for continuation up to around 9,500, give or take a few bucks over the next week or two, or whatever it ends up being. Probably when we get the new monthly is when it becomes a little bit more likely. Anyways, looking at momentum oscillators while we are here on the daily on spot, we do see that daily Stokes, as we spoke about the last couple of days, are going to be currently around right at the neutral zone zone. So very, 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 very common that you do see some counter trend pressure applied right here. And more importantly, we saw daily stocks come all the way down throughout this whole way, while price action was essentially just, setting a higher low. And well, on CMEs, we got a higher high actually on a weekly schedule, not just on a daily. Of course, this is why, and again, just I'm kind of scooting all over the place here, but just as an aside, remember this this Darth Maul dildo right here coming in on the 18th of January. That was on a weekend. That was, I believe, on a Saturday or Sunday. So that is always why I'm kind of more intent to look at CME's chart, because if you're just looking at this right here, it looks like a very nasty rejection. And I can certainly understand like a bearish case on top of that. Of course, for for us on this channel, I wasn't really willing to get bearish below 8,200. And of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But if you go back on over here to CMEs, you can see very obviously that this is a lot more of a constructive long-term behavior. Not only that, but on CMEs, we actually are about to get, more importantly, the golden cross between the green 55 and the purple 200. Yes, I know that there's probably gonna be someone who says, but Krown, isn't it the 50 and the 200? And aren't they supposed to be symbols? Yeah, technically yes. If you go look up a dictionary definition, but hey, in my experience, this holds a shit ton more weight, and that is the difference between looking at fucking Investopedia.com or listening to XYZ and actually having some goddamn skin in the game. Anyways, looking at this right here, we are about probably one more daily close, assuming that Bitcoin does not, just absolutely crash down and crumble between now and the next CME close, which I believe is at 5 p.m. Eastern time. They will officially golden cross right here, and I would put a significant amount of weight on that, way more actually than I would on spot charts. And funnily enough, spot price action right here is not showing the same golden cross happening on the same time frame. It's probably going to happen maybe around here, which would be basically about end of week, very, very likely. Again, assuming that we don't have a crash back down below to the lower 8,000s in the meantime. So I would put more significance on CME in this perspective. And once again, they are likely showing the way. Not only that, but we are going to see CME daily stokes cross back up to the upside. They are a little bit more highly cooked here. But what I do like about this is that CME seem to show momentum monsters in the same way that I'm used to seeing them in traditional markets, which is where I come from. If you're new to this channel, that's where I got my start. I was a professional market maker, authorized trader on the floor of New York Stock Exchange ARCA. And momentum oscillators, especially during strong trending moves, will tend to kind of stay up in these more critical regions. And that's how it's actually a strong trending move, rather than what we see on spot, where it actually does a pretty damn good job of like calling the top and calling the bottom, funnily enough. Anyways, crossing back up in the critical zone, not a huge deal. I mean, most people look at that as as like oh shit, we're about to go down. But here's the thing: is that you always want to be matching up your momentum oscillators together with each other. And as that couldn't be redone enough. And for example, looking at Stokes and RSI here, we do see that RSI crawling its way back above, and this is more or less healthy behavior, being resilient in this region. More importantly, not more importantly, but just as important, having a change behavior here on the daily RSI, maintaining above this region that we broke down from in mid to late June, which was the highs of 14,000. So your daily RSI and CMEs gets things so fucking well here. We do see that essentially as soon as Bitcoin daily RSI gets back above like the median of this region, and even if you want to take this one step further, I'd say about the 64, 63 region, just a smidgen down below the edge of the bullish control zone here, you do see that is when we essentially lose our uptrend, and of course when we are hovering between the neutral zone and the more critical bullish territory, we do see that that's your obvious uptrends right here. And what we've done in the last like couple weeks is that we've actually maintained above this last breakdown point that we saw in again June, July area. So keep in mind that this whole move down from about 12.5 to our 6.5 low right here, all you had to do was just trade the daily RSI, and you can see that nice little territory of resistance built up around this, the low 60 marker right here. And now Bitcoin officially getting back above and maintaining above, more importantly, as the exponential starts to crawl above as well. So I really like that setup longer term. I mean, shorter term, we're going to have our ebbs and flows in this market. We'll get to the lower time frames a little bit later in this video. But I do want to kind of set in the longer term here, because right now is one of those times where, I felt very confident the last couple of weeks. with these moves happening. Now we are still seeing the moves transpire in those same directions that we spoke about, but as far as the lower timeframes go, I become a little bit less aggressive in these regions just because things can float around a lot. So I'd actually rather wait for the next obvious trade, in my opinion, which likely comes on this next daily closure, and perhaps even alongside, assuming again we do not dump super hard this golden cross on CMEs right here. I am curious where the lower period moving averages are right now. 10 simple is probably way up there. Yep. So the 10 simple is almost consistent with the white 200 simple moving average on CMEs as well. And by the way, we did close above 200 simple on the CMEs, getting back above and maintaining above. That is strength as far as I'm concerned about it. So, do I think that we probably have another test back down to this region? Yeah, probably yes. And that's coming in right around about 8,900, 8,850-ish region. So I do think that it's possible that Bitcoin spot could pull back down to that region, probably form a base there, and assuming that the daily close is still above wherever the 200 simple was, I think it was 8,900 even, or just right around there, then that's more or less good, and in offering up the next sort of leg of continuation over the next couple weeks or whatever it ends up being, and again, daily RSI not just getting back above that same area of breakdown longer term, but more importantly looking constructive within this region as well. I'm sure that people are going to call this a head and shoulders. It could be a head and shoulders, but I would only really entertain that possibility if we break back down below the exponential there, which is a little bit further away. So anyways, speaking of the where else do we want to take this? Let's okay, so we're starting off with the higher time frames. Let's flesh out this idea a little bit more because I didn't do this yesterday. Let's go over to the monthly, because the monthly will be closing on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And wait, hold on, let me confirm that on my calendar right over here. We got the 31st on Friday. Yes, indeed. So it will close on the 31st Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I would say that from a longer term perspective, a more macro time frame perspective, if Bitcoin can close above this red 10 simple on the monthly here, which is currently at around 85.50, so perhaps very likely. We've all seen crazier things than a $500 move in the span of less than a day or even less than an hour sometimes. But assuming that we do close above there, I would say that more or less longer term does align with the with the macro getting back above five digits in February, March most likely. Going to be testing around there. Not only that, but we're going to see the momentum also just flip around. We're going to see monthly Stokes monthly RSI get back above the exponential. Big deal to me after bouncing off the neutral territory. I really really like that right here. This was absolutely catastrophic coming into the month of January. But this response right here is damn good. And not only that, we're going to see monthly Stokes probably start to loosen their grip after getting rejected by the bullish control zone right here, which is very very common. And if we can see them cross back up, that would again be a sign of resiliency, and that is essentially strength longer term. So I do like both those things. Not only that, but just kind of as an aside, this is certainly not a signal right here at all, but but monthly Joule kind of helps form those longer term biases, and we do see that the light blue is above the pink, which it's in a complete neutral zone. It's not a signal at all, but it would say that biases a little bit to the upside here. Longer term, again, when we're talking about a month, we're talking about longer term. Anyways, okay, so let's go down to the lower time frames now with all those critical points in mind, and see what we can come up with, and just kind of put back on all these lovely drawing tools. We can see that yes, all the targets were met over the last couple of days. Took out this area right here, right around 87.50. Took out essentially the last weekly high. Boom, that initiates that next move up to at the very least 89.50. We got that one. Overtook this horizontal right here, and then boom, nice move into this liquid zone that's been kind of given our tops recently. So what's happening now with this? Well, we do see a little bit of a change of behavior on the volume signature on this. In fact, this again showing that yesterday when we were looking at volume signature and volatility, that move is likely to happen in the next 24 hours, which we got. And this also kind of breaking the trend on this is indicative that we are doing something new here as well. So the breakout is very likely real is kind of how I interpret this. We probably, while things maybe cool back down around, maybe we even come back down to 8850, 8900 region. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I would look for it to strongly bounce there, as that's what it essentially suggests. We are going to see lower time frame historical volatility percentile get very, very red here. So I do think that Bitcoin's likely to kind of grind this area out a little bit more and then consolidate sideways. And, do I think that we consolidate a little bit downwards as well? I don't want to commit to a statement here because I feel like with the last like month and a half of price action, I've been relatively confident on most of these things that I've been, most of these moves. Right now, generally I'm bullish, but I don't really want to call the lower timeframes because I don't really think that I can. I don't really feel too sold on them right now. It's the higher timeframes that are taking over right now. We're looking at a macro move right now is my main point. So looking at a fucking hourly when you should be looking at like a weekly, monthly doesn't get the full picture. You're gonna miss the big fucking move. Getting focused on any sort of a time frame below, Jesus Christ, even like a 12 hour at this point. Anyways, speaking of this right here, do I think that we could have another move back down to like 89, 80, 88.50ish region, test around the daily 200 simple? Yeah, I do think so, and I'd probably be looking for a bounce around there if it were to happen. So I'm gonna make a nice little range here of that territory that I'd be looking at. And we're going to actually get rid of some of these guys right here. So 8850 to 8900 is where I'd be looking towards. If Bitcoin does have like a lower time frame pullback, something like this, we can get rid of this guy right here because it's still relevant, on the lower time frames, but it's not very proximal to price action. So I don't really care all that much about it right now. I would expect another low time frame bounce around here, 8750, if we were to break below this area. But I don't think that I think it's a little bit unlikely that we do break below that region right there. We can leave the rest in here just because they are bigger areas longer term. Of course, this being our this blue box territory back down here being our most important medium time frame area for the downside, as that is our last higher low on the daily. So as long as Bitcoin maintains above there, it's still in an uptrend on a daily, and a weekly is kind of knocking on the door relatively soon. Anyways, we do have bearish divergence present on an hourly, of course, so it's going to the goddamn floor. No, perhaps not, but let's see how high this bearish divergence does go up to. 2 hour has the same present, I believe. Yes, indeed it does. 3 hour has the same present. Yes, indeed it does. 4 hour does not have any bearish. Well, do you really consider this bearish divergence to here? No, we're actually not even making new highs, so it can't be. So, very, very low timeframes are showing a little bit of divergence here, which does suggest that, yes, we probably do go a little bit sideways and perhaps even a little bit down as lower time frame momentum also does cool off, and especially volatility. I want to see it kind of come back down out as well. I'm curious how the 2 hours looking at that. Even the 2 hours pretty hot. 3 hours going to be expanding as well, and that suggests that we probably have a very, very low time frame consolidation downwards, and then the medium and higher time frames should pick things up as they still look more or less healthy. I want to also follow up on the 12 hour, on the 12 hour, on just the 12 hour in general, because this one's been so fucking powerful. Again, and for all the people who are, Krown, you're a fucking moron for using a 12 hour golden cross or death cross, and why are you using exponentials, and why are you using the 55? It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Wow. Anyways, yes, this is why I pay attention to it. Golden cross on the 12 hour, getting its play now. We've already seen about about 11.5% move from that price point. That's still a little bit on the lower end, even if this were to be a fake out right here. But more importantly, we're getting divergence between these two moving averages, which is very, 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 very important. And we are seeing at 12-hour Stokes still once again showing the way. And this was fucking classic right here. Remember when we spoke about this? And I'm not saying this to sound arrogant. I'm not saying this to be like, I told you so, I knew it. I fucking that sort of bullshit. I don't care about that. I only care about making trades. But what is interesting, or sorry, what is valuable about this is that we can monitor this over time. I'm sure that new people here are going to be like, this is hindsight trading. It's like, well, yes, no shit, right now it is. But if you were here during the time when we were talking about this is exactly what we were talking about. Get a nice cross, price action gets pulled into it, fucking classic, and then you see that divergence between these two moving averages as momentum also just turn back up. Beautiful, fucking beautiful, picture perfect, and that's essentially what we want to see. Now we take a look at the 12-hour RSI, and what do we see here? We actually see a couple of things going on right now. We do see that we've resolved a falling channel to the upside. Very, very common. Kind of an ugly drawing of one. Doesn't need to be perfect, but more importantly, this is constructive behavior as far as I'm concerned. So the 12-hour RSI in general is going to get the general trend better, whereas Stokes are going to get the ranging price action better, and they're actually both headed up right now with the RSI looking more or less healthy. Not only that, 12-hour Stochastic volatility percentile is actually still contracting within this region. So longer term, we are still seeing this area. We probably do see this area fleshed out a little bit more. And I wouldn't be surprised if we spend some time, going. Well, this speaks to the greater, to the greater price action here. So, we could see it we could see it collapse a little bit more, even all the way up to 9,500. But I would not expect Bitcoin to break above like 9,500 or 9,600 with force anytime soon. But anytime soon, meaning like in the next couple of weeks, next week or so at least. I should really back away from using that kind of terminology. I don't like it. And then also, you know, following the same trend line that we spoke about like a month ago, right in over here, coming in from November, you know, giving you that perfect buy-in, like quite literally on the low right here. So all of those things kind of line up with each other, especially for the people in the TA program. Keep in mind that is a fucking picture perfect example of everything that you want to see, essentially. Anyways, okay, cool. All right. So I always like to be following up for the people in the TA program because it's good to watch new price action as you go through the program, and you know, it just makes more and more sense as you see it in real time, and then you can reference that program to, well, just like kind of click all the little moving parts into place. Anyways, okay, cool. What else do we want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the other medium time frames? No, not really. Don't really care about them. Daily, we already spoke about that. Momentum also is turning up. Daily RSI looking good. What about the 2-day and 3-day? 2-day and 3-day is where things get a little bit more strange. And it's strange. The reason why I say that is because, well, hold on, before we get into that, momentum also is on the 2-day and 3-day. Like if you're just looking at 2-day Stokes and blindly trading this, you're not going to be having a good time, as they're probably going to cross back up to the upside right here. Again, this is what you kind of expect during a strong trending move. And on a 2-day, are we closing the 2-day tonight? Do we have a chance? Yes, we do. Okay, yes, this is big. If Bitcoin can close this next 2-day dildo above 8,900, which is also going to be the daily 200 simple, we're going to look like we're going to have the next sort of evolution of our higher time frame moving averages. We're going to see the yellow 21 cross the upside of the green 55. Again, for the people in the TA program, you know what to look for there. Look at the test right on over here. Beautiful. Look at your 2-day RSI. Again, same fucking thing here. And 2-day Stokes, you know, I'm sure that this is going to trip a lot of people up, but I don't really have a huge problem with it, actually. Again, in traditional markets, this is like par for the course when you see something like this. I mean, shit, man, even this is a very aggressive trend line right here, which we probably do end up hitting at some point in time, but we're already hitting the most aggressive trend line right here, which is just insane. And yes, you can do it like that, but goddamn, that's fucking powerful right there. So longer term, I do really like what I'm seeing right here. And with another confirmed close above about 8,900, which will come tonight for the 2-day, we're going to see the divergence between these. We're going to confirm that beautiful cross the upside. You can just back test this one again, you know, in your own time, which I strongly suggest to do. Don't take my word for things. You know, don't trust, verify, whatever the fuck. But you know, looking at this cross and blindly trading it for the eternity of Bitcoin, it doesn't provide the best entries, but it does get the long-term momentum really, really well. You know, cross and downside right over here. Obviously, entering in on this would have been terrible, fucking terrible. But longer term, gets momentum right. Bitcoin comes down, you know, almost 50% there. Before that, gets a nice cross right here. Again, doesn't get you the perfect entry, but gets you a pretty damn good move to the upside. And same thing right on over here to the downside, gets you all the way from, this one actually did happen to be a pretty damn good timing move right here, for all the way from March 2018 at about $12,000 down to 3,100, and back into the deeper annals of history for good old Krown's. You know, a couple one-offs here similar to the 12-hour golden cross and death cross, but this one a little bit more long-term geared, and still getting some pretty damn good moves. So I do want to, I do want to highlight that fact. But of course, at the end of the day, what's the biggest thing that we've been stating for the last? What's the biggest thing that we've been stating for like the last? Oh God, ever since October, essentially, since this failed rally attempt right here, that was our last weekly high. And technically speaking, as long as Bitcoin is below it, we are still in a weekly downtrend, and weekly reversals, both uptrend and downtrend, have been the best way to trade Bitcoin long term. Anytime that's gotten, reversal to the upside, those are your 1,000% moves to the upside, or sometimes 100, which is just good. Into the downside, like 50 to 70% moves to the downside or more. And in this case right here, is kind of like the last technicality that I really be looking for to not declare. It sounds like I'm fucking mayor or some shit. But to basically be like, no more questions asked, very long-term bullish on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin can get another weekly close above about 9,500, this last prior high right here. And again, looking at CMEs, I think that this looks a lot better, really, realistically speaking. Not only that, following up from yesterday, we are going to see the yellow 21 maintain this positive slope. So it really, further confirms that, again, just this is again hindsight a little bit here, just because we've been speaking about this for the last couple weeks here. So it's probably going to sound like not very helpful right now, but I just want to follow up on this. So we got a positive slope on the 20-minute exponential moving average. That is very much very, very likely to be set in, even without waiting for this next closure. And more importantly, Bitcoin's using that yellow 20-minute exponential moving average as a nice basing point. And if we take out everything else off besides these three guys right here, we do see, we don't even really need the 200 symbol to be honest with you, just the yellow 21 and the red 10 symbol right here. Anytime that we have Bitcoin in a bull market, it likes to base off that yellow 21 exponential moving average and maintain that positive slope. Just having those two pieces of the puzzle in place has been good enough for these major massive moves longer term, and we actually have that here. And not only that, if we get the red 10 symbol to get a positive slope as well, which it does, that further further adds on to validity of it longer term. And then the next sort of piece of price action that we could be looking for would be the 10 symbol getting above the 21 exponential moving average, which is bound to happen the longer that Bitcoin just basically stays above this region right here. So again, the next sort of critical point to the downside, 8,900, to the upside, a little bit more difficult. But I would imagine that if we get a 4-hour total closure anywhere above about 9,200, it looks like, then yes, I would look for that next slow trudge up to our 9,500 top right here from, late October once again. I didn't even fucking talk about that move, but that is essentially what I'm looking for. A little bit more medium term here, maybe over the next couple of weeks, assuming that we can actually get this, overtake this region right here. In the meantime, the real question is, do the lower time frames want to consolidate lower first, or do we get a push to the upside first? And that's essentially what I'd be looking for. Anyways, we've already been speaking for about 26 minutes. Jesus Christ, man, that is insane. Here's what the 3-day looks like. 3-day getting that same cross right here. Beautiful. Very, very good close yesterday night. So we got a fresh one right now. 3-day still crawling up there. 3-day RSI looking very, very healthy as well. I do like that. And historical volatility percentile on the 3-day is absolutely crushed here. So we see very, very low historical volatility percentile on 3-day, 2-day, or 2 days kind of low there. Daily starting to expand as well. But these are all, akin to major basing out areas longer term, which have produced, $1,000 plus moves, or even spurned off some major market cycle changes in the past. Last sort of example was this breakdown right here. This breakout right here to the upside, this breakdown right here to the downside. You get the idea. So longer term, I do think that we're at a pretty massive pivotal point in this market, but I would exercise a little bit of caution on the lower time frames right now, just because Bitcoin can sneeze and move, $100, $200, and I think that the next obvious trade is probably going to be probably have to wait for the daily to set itself, and then likely get it. Anyways, okay, cool. Let's go check out GBC as it was trading for yesterday, and let's see how we did. Nice up move. Sloppier chart, not as helpful here actually. As spot or CMEs. In fact, looking at weekly for GBDC, it still looks kind of nasty here, to be fair. Although weekly RSI is starting to reverse around, so I do like that. Speaking of weekly RSI, I forgot to talk about this, but of course, or did we talk about this? Weekly RSI going to be knocking on the door actually right now, and this is a new happening just as of today, but of course we have to wait for the weekly to close, which is Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But just kind of briefly talk about this if you're new here, as it's been mentioned a million times on this channel now. Anytime that Bitcoin's on, in a bull market, it likes to kind of base off this blue box territory at about 56 RSI. And maintain above there, and those happen to be your amazingly well-timed moves to the downside before massive push to the upside. So big deal right there. And more importantly, as long as Bitcoin maintains that, that's all your major massive moves to the upside. We were above it this whole way through here, this whole market right here, and more recently through the first half of 2019 right here. The second quarter of 2019 right here. And once again, we're going to actually have a chance to get back above it. So I really like what's going on here. And we're going to have a chance, again, by Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. By the same token, if Bitcoin is going to reverse back down to, if Bitcoin's going to maintain the long-term downtrend, which on the weekly is still intact, to be fair, as we don't necessarily have a higher high just yet, I would expect for Bitcoin to get rejected literally pretty much right here. right here. So it's not all said and done just yet. I think that most things look good. I think that most things point further north. If I had, if I'm basically staying with what I've been saying for like the last month or so now, month and a half, I am bullish on Bitcoin. But that would be kind of like the last of the last of the last as far as things that I'm looking for to further solidify that bias. And then of course the weekly higher high above 9,500 would be good as well, or wherever it's kind of coming in around. I forgot to check. I forgot to let's go back down to Bitcoin lower time frames and match this up with expected moves chart. Once again, by the way, expected moves chart getting things right, or getting the probabilities right yesterday, saying that, hey, it's more likely that we actually do move to the upside here. And what do we see here on today's one? Well, this is very interesting to me. So the first standard deviation is showing that the bottom side of it is showing at around a little bit below 8,800 right now. So that would actually suggest that we do still, I would still really wait for this next daily to close above the 200 simple right here at about 8,900, because that's well within that range. Remember, that's basically coming down all the way to 8,800 right from that price point, meaning that it's probably about, more than, man, I'm going to do some very bad mental math right now, but it's probably somewhere around like a 20% chance that we actually do close below the 200 simple moving average today. And again, man, I hope that Bali can actually figure something out like that, because that'd be really, really cool if I could narrow down exactly to a price point what that probability is, which I'm sure that you can. It's just a maths equation, I'd imagine. By the same token, a lot more likely that we actually, or just as likely that we actually do break out to the upside above, basically above our last prior high, which in this case would be 91.90. And there's two ways to do this. So earlier in this video, I said that, I could wait for either a 4-hour delta closure of about 9,200 or the other way that we could do it, a more aggressive way. Of course, closures is always going to be better, but a more aggressive way would just be wait for price action to overtake our last prior high, which is actually 91.90. So it'll actually naturally happen at the exact same time, most likely, if it does. And more importantly to that fact, that's well within the bounds of the first deviation to the upside as well. So about probably like a 15 to 20% chance that happens as well today. So pretty damn, pretty damn even for that. And in this case, because the trend is the upside on this time frame, I would give the nod to the bulls here. But if you're looking at it from a purely mathematical standpoint, it would say that we have just about as an equal chance to overtake our last high at 9,200 as we do to close below the 200 simple from this price point in about a day's time. But in this situation right here, I do give the nod to the bulls just because they have trend on their side and momentum oscillators are all turning up, especially on the time frames that matter most. Now the lower time frames are presenting a little bit of an issue, but it's a long day to go, and of course you get multiple closes on them before you get even one close on a daily. Okay, other than that, what else do we have? It would say that it's very unlikely that we do close above 9,550 today, less than a 2.5% chance, even less than closing above 9,800. I'm not really looking for that. To the downside, a little bit more comforting. It's even showing that the edge of the third standard deviation to the downside is literally around our last prior low on the daily. So very, 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 very unlikely that Bitcoin actually does reverse a daily trend from here today. Could happen in a few days though, as they do tend to change around. But my point is that daily trend likely going to get things right. So the bias here still I think reasonably to the upside. Anyways, what else do we want to talk about? Let's go check out traditional markets coming down a little bit more, 323.5. And I do think that we're going to pull back a little bit more over these next couple of weeks. Looking at this right here, I do think that 320 is a nice bounce area to the downside. Let me put on the horizontals. This guy right here, less important, 317.5. If SPY gets down around there, I think it would only be a bounce. We'd actually eventually head on lower to 315, and that's where I think that this move could likely find a bottom. Daily Jewel given a pretty damn good sell signal. I think the 4-hour got it perfectly, or at least someone called it out in the Discord. Yes, indeed it did. God damn, man, powerful. I'm sure that a lot of people are looking for a bounce to fill the gap somewhere right around 327. I don't really have a strong opinion on if it heads lower first or not. Looking at the hourly, I think that it does head lower first. I think that the bounce failed yesterday miserably at 325, and probably do see lower over the next coming weeks. This is obviously also kind of in relation to the good old crisis, not the good old crisis, but the fucking crisis going on in Wuhan, China, or Wuhan, or whatever Wu-Tang China, if you want to call it that. Krown's fucking coronavirus cave over here. But sorry, it's not a laughing matter. It actually sounds quite serious. But the point is that if a global pandemic like that really starts to get more and more serious and start to take a foothold in a way that would perhaps like curtail trading internationally, because I know that Trump is he's actually quite a germaphobe from what I understand. Then it would kind of make sense that, it wouldn't just make sense. It would very likely impact markets in that way. It's a very direct, impact. It's not speculation anymore. Right now, it's kind of speculation in a sense that things are going to get, much worse. But if countries start shutting down trade, that's when you're going to start to see this really come down, not just to these levels right here at like 320, 315. You're probably going to see longer term, over the next couple months, perhaps even down to like 305 is where I'd be looking for. 305 would be a very nice bottoming area longer term. If things really shit started to get serious, anywhere between about 305 and 310 is where I'd be looking for a nice about 10% correction. And actually, is that about 10% correction? Yeah, almost. Actually, 10% would be a little more than that. But fair enough. So yeah, mind the gap to the upside here. But I do think that the reversal is real, at least for the medium term. I do think that there's more down to go. What else do we want to look at? Do we want to look at some other forexes? And yeah, let's look at some gold right on over here. Gold going up. And where do we close the day out? Very nice closure. New highs on gold. Do you like that? And I do think that gold closed above 1575. This horizontal right here, I do like that. It's already kind of come back down and retested it. Completely fine. We're seeing daily stocks cross up at the same time. Looks oddly familiar to Bitcoin now, doesn't it? And I would be looking for another push off and probably test around this blue box territory over the next, I don't know, week or two or whatever it ends up being. Daily RSI. I'm sure people are calling that bearish divergence. It is not. There's no fucking top set in place right now. Daily Jewel not going to be giving you a signal there. Very, very unlikely, unless if things turn down like today, come back down below 1570 region, then yes, it probably does play out. But no, that is not a signal. That is a clear and obvious indication that we probably head up higher here. Let's go take a look at dollar yen. Dollar yen crashing down a little bit more. Do you think that it's going to actually reach for the daily 200 simple at 108.5, hit the bottom side of this rising channel right here and probably bounce off there? Pound yen, how are we doing here? Breaking down a little bit more. Kind of got that same rising channel going on here as well. Is hitting a support right now, but this is not looking as good. This fake out right here is very, very brutal, and I was completely wrong about this one. I was looking for a close above this region, and I was going to target a region towards 146. This is a great example of me just being flat out fucking wrong. And more often than not, that trade will work out in my favor. But this one right here, absolutely fucking not. Terrible. Very, very embarrassing. But that's the truth of trading, man. That's the truth of trading. That's why we have risk management. Anyways, probably tries another low time frame bounce off this region, but this is looking less and less appealing. More importantly, the weeklies had too many rejections off the 200 simple, and that should have been the key for me last week coming into Friday, which I was not really watching because I was in the northern parts of Finland enjoying the northern lights and snowboarding, which is really, really fun. But yeah, do you think that we come down lower here and anywhere lower than 140.8, and I actually would target a move much, much lower towards like 138.5 region, longer term, of course. Euro dollar coming down to our 110 target and looking to me like it probably bounces around this region. We're pretty much already there. You could say that the target's already met. I do think that it bounces a little bit in this region, but longer term probably comes lower. Monthly is going to be closing absolutely atrociously. This is terrible right here. So, does it bounce back up and maybe tag like 111 coming into February? Maybe yes, but I'd probably look at that as another sell. Of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but not looking good here. Not looking hot. Not looking good. What else we have? We can look at all the altcoins. Thanks to FTX's what's it called here? Looks like they're basically gonna be following Bitcoin. Looks very fucking familiar. It's like Jesus Christ. And we can quickly look at like Butyrol and Litecoin and maybe come up with a little bit better of a bias. Granted that the market typically moves together. And yeah, okay, Butyrol hit our target at the 200 exponential moving average right here. I would say though, this one's not as strong as Bitcoin, and the 200 simple still looming overhead at about 176.5. So as long as it's below there, it's still highly suspect. I'd really wait for Bitcoin to confirm, and then of course Buteral as well. Litecoin hitting the 200 simple to the upside as well and rejecting off it thus far. So actually both these guys certainly not looking as strong, which is not the best indication right now. I'm actually a little bit apprehensive to it kind of makes me a little bit more apprehensive about Bitcoin in this region. Very interesting, very, very interesting. But at the end of the day, I'd trust Bitcoin more than these guys. I'm curious how the Bitcoin dominance chart is looking. So we can just kind of wrap up all the altcoins here. But so far, it looks to me like the other majors are not looking as good as Bitcoin. Looks like the daily's trying to set in a local low here. It is a lower low, so we're kind of downtrend, or we are downtrend on the daily. But I do think that it bounces up here. I do think that dominance is gonna come back up a bit. This is a very difficult chart to read. Is this a falling channel or are we in a downtrend? Well, we are in a downtrend, but falling channels are downtrends, to be fair. And falling channels typically do resolve to the upside. So should I be long-term bullish on this or short-term bearish? Well, weekly Jewel did give a very nice sell signal right around here, right above 70.5%. Does it have more to go? I don't know. I don't feel confident on the alts. I won't say anything about the alts. Fuck them. No, sorry. They're great. They're amazing. Yeah, the white paper is really fucking good, man. It's like, wow, they're gonna solve all the problems in the world. Cue a million very angry responses in the comments. Krown, how could you say that about Encash? Don't you know what they're trying to do? It's like, all right. No, I don't. Actually, I don't. Maybe I could very well be wrong. But yeah, looking at me like Bitcoin wants to pull back a little bit here. I would say that pullback target maybe. I don't want to give a pullback target because I don't really feel too confident about this. What I feel confident about is we probably do pull back into this blue box right here between like 88.50 and 8900. The reaction from that region is going to be very indicative of as to whether we're going to actually see the daily take out the 200 simple today or not. Remember that is at 8,900 even. And assuming that Bitcoin does have a nice bounce around there, or even just close above there on a daily, like with a decent amount of body, I would look for just a nice consolidation between these two liquid territories right here, and then a nice floaty up as a lower time frame start to unravel themselves and cool down a little bit, and momentum oscillators on the higher time frame start to take over once again. So what I can wrap up this chat with once again is that, hey, if Bitcoin, does Bitcoin come down here? Probably yes. We are going to see 4-hour Stochs come down, 3-hour Stochs probably there. Yes, indeed. 2-hour Stochs, yes. Hourly Stochs, yes. We have bearish divergence all the way up to a 3-hour. So where's the 3-hour 21? Actually, the 3-hour 21 is much, much lower. Could we come all the way down to 77.50? Maybe, yes. Maybe yes, actually. But still, I feel like this is the blue box to watch right here. Feelings over TA. Oh, Jesus Christ. Got to call myself out for that one. But my point is that, hey, if Bitcoin does come down to here, I would be looking for a bounce. And if the daily can close anywhere above 89, 89.50, that would look more or less good long term, set in the more higher time frame trend. By the same token, if Bitcoin does fail at this area, if the bounce is weak and then you actually see like a close on a 2-hour dildo below 88.50 especially, I would look for another move down here towards 86.50ish region. Likely somewhere in this region right here. In fact, we can do something like this and go one by one. So again, level to level, and I probably look for another low time frame bounce here. Although, to be fair, that bounce probably will fail and it'll come back down and base around the prior low on the daily. By the same token, if Bitcoin were to pick itself back up today, which I think is a little bit unlikely, I think it's more likely that we end somewhere between these two guys right here today, which would be longer term good, but shorter term that doesn't really mean much to the low time frame traders. But if Bitcoin could close, especially a daily above 9,200, or even just come above 9,200, our last prior high. It's a little bit of an aggressive trade here, but I would say that that's likely going to align with the next sort of push to the upside, somewhere between like 90. Where's this area right here? It gets a little bit tricky. Anywhere in this next, of this last prior high right here on the weekly. So around, I've been saying 9,500. That could come in as low as like 94 and as high as like 96. So a nice little encompassing region around there, which I do think that we probably hit longer term. But for right now, I do think that Bitcoin looks good longer term. Shorter term, probably needs a little bit of a cool off. Other than that, I'm gonna be signing off. I'll be back on Twitch later tonight. Hopefully we can get some nice ranging price action for that, because that's what makes it fun, especially like doing the trading in between all the fun gaming sessions. That's what I love doing. It's a lot less pressure off, and very, 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 very calming, which I really enjoy. Anyways, I'm gonna be signing off now. I've already been speaking for way too long. I want to wish you well once again, and take care until next time.